And welcome to another edition of To the House Calls. I am To the House, and we are going to be talking kickoff return, specifically our kickoff reverse return. A lot of people have asked me about it from the Coach Huey website. It's been probably 10 years or so, I don't know, 8, 10 years that post has been in the special teams section on Coach Huey's site. So I want to go over a lot of the questions I get from people and just generally talk about the return. I'm going to show you something new that is not included in the PowerPoint that I have on how to block the kick or block the reverse. I also want to invite you to use the hashtag To the House Calls so you can reply, to ask a question, and I'll see if I can get to it. Sometimes I'm doing all kinds of stuff here and I might miss it, but you could also email me at tothehousecalls@gmail.com. But let's get started with the presentation here. Again, as you look at the screen, you'll see the little Twitter box at the bottom. I'll do my best to keep refreshing that if I can to see your questions. But like I said, I want to talk about the origin of the kickoff, show you a little bit about the PowerPoint that originated a long time ago. Here's part of it, and just go over a couple key points that could make the kickoff return successful. Just so you know, the kickoff return was something I ran in high school in the 80s. My old coach, I don't know how long he had it. We had a lot of success back then with it. Didn't do much with it. Actually, when I first started coaching, my old high school coach I was on his staff, and we ran it, and it was somewhat successful. And then when I brought it to where I'm currently at, we've had a lot of success. Now we've stopped kind of running it. There's various reasons why, and I'm actually not the guy who runs the kickoff return anymore. So when we do the run the reverse, I feel like some of the key pieces are missing from the reverse, even though we do attempt to try it. So I'm going to give you my detailed approach at how to run the reverse on the kickoff return. So I'm going to start with that now. So again, you're looking at your screen. It's got the PowerPoint that I share out. I could send me a PM through Huey's site, and I'll send it to you as quick as I can get to it. But let's get started. So again, the reverse, this number, the 11 TDs, is actually more now. I can't remember when I made this PowerPoint, but it was a while ago. We usually get to the 50-yard line or so with it. It's obviously a weapon. It's different. People haven't seen it. Forces them to practice it a lot during the week. Kids, when they practice it, have a lot of confidence with it. The reverse, the way I describe it is, you take a chance every time you snap the ball in shotgun. So if you're confident in doing that every play on offense, then running the reverse on your kickoff, if you practice it every day for 10 minutes, the reverse part, with every player that might touch the ball, then you should have pretty high confidence in running the reverse. Never had a problem worrying about anything with the reverse since we practice it so much. And obviously it's fun. When it happens, kids know it's coming. The other team knows it's coming. A lot of times they don't know where the ball is, and it kind of could break off a big return. So this PowerPoint was animated. I'm going to turn off the Twitter feed for a second so you can see the whole screen. And just so you know, I think it was like 1997 PowerPoint. So if you don't have the right PowerPoint, sometimes the PowerPoint doesn't animate, but just so you know, it does animate. So the ball's going to be kicked off here as you can see it moving down. I want to be clear on, you could do this a couple different ways. You can return it to the left and have all your guys on the left be the same back here, and flip your guys There's a lot of different ways you can align your personnel. If you want them to not learn two different blocks, then just flop them. Maybe the other team picks up on that, maybe they don't. But again, it's easier to teach it if they only have to do it one way, but doing the second block isn't that difficult as well. Another key I want to make note of, it's hard to tell on the drawing here, is you want to be 10 yards apart with your deep return men. They could start wider, maybe they start on the hash, but when the ball's in the air, the other kick returner needs to close the distance down no matter where the kick is. The 10 yards in between is a good marker, enough distance that they're running at each other so it really sells the fake. If you're too far, it just takes too long, and if you're too close, the deception part isn't as good. Another note while I'm here before I get going, any kick that's down the middle, so a lot of times the ball will be kicked down the middle between both returners, and they look at each other like outfielders and the ball drops down on the ground. The easy way we fix that is the guy who's gonna return the ball is the guy who catches it down the middle. So in this case, if we're returning to the screen's left here and the ball is kicked down the middle, the right hand guy here would jump down the middle and automatically get it as the left hand returner moves out to get 10 yards apart, and then there's no exchange. He fakes it and they go that way. So again, I just tell them, guy, ball down the middle, guy who's going to get it, instead of having them call it, I got it, you, me, whatever baseball terminology you want to use. Now I want to be clear, they still call, I got it, take it, whatever, me, whatever, but they know on the return, if it's down the middle, that the guy who's going to keep the ball on the return has it. So want to clear that up as well. That's a big one. Okay, so now that you see the ball is on the left to the left returner, another major key is that the ball always goes in front. Always goes in front, so whoever catches it goes in front, and the guy who didn't catch it has to go behind. So you obviously got to work on that, but if you just keep the rule ball in front, then you won't have guys running into each other when they practice it or whatnot. Okay, and the animation here is going to go quick, but I show it a few times, and then it goes block by block. And I'll get to the blocking part in a second. And then like I said, I'm going to show you some video of it and give you some good and bad of what the kids did on the video and how you can correct it and whatnot. So let's take a look here. So that's kind of how the blocking goes. If you look at the numbering system, it started with L1 on the right and it works into L5. You can have whatever numbering system you want. And then you could see on the right hand side, if we're returning to the left, we don't even block those four guys. We're feeling like the fake on the reverse should hold those guys. Now maybe they take a good angle, but it's rare that they have a burner that could take a 45 degree and chase us down the sideline. So again, on the animation here, I think this one will show you one guy at a time. So if you see the marker, you'll know exactly who's got who. So the front left guy on your return wall has L3, and he wants to try and get that guy. He's trying to push him inside. I'll go over how we're going to make that block later. Okay, if we can get him to the hash, even if he's blocking out at the top of the numbers, try and shove him in onto the hash, that'd be great to get more space down the sideline. So the next guy has L4, and you can see that he widens outside, again trying to get the offensive player, the kickoff team, inside the hash. L2, probably the biggest block there is, so it'd be the second row guy getting outside, maybe the bottom of the numbers, and really trying to force L2 inside. And on this one, it's either the kicker or R5. Sometimes the teams send their kicker down to tackle, If they do that, our guy would be inside of him, trying to force him away from the return. This block is usually a monster kill shot because the guy might be standing still and you could ear hole him as he's standing there. I know the new rules don't encourage that, but I'm kind of going off the old school way of thinking. Just put your shoulder into him and bury him. Okay, and then this block here, coming from the second row back, he's got L5. He's got to sprint past L5, get to him where he can, again, turn him in and run him away from the return. And then these two particular guys up here are very important. They've got to run to the hash. You'll see on the video sometimes the players run to the hash and make a left-hand turn. And sometimes they cheat and cut across the grain. The timing of it, you want them to go right down the hash, run laterally, and then avoid the kickoff team, and then pinch up the hash to the wall. Oh, before that though, the timing of your second row player who's got to kick out the L1 contain guy, he should wait as long as possible and be making his block like he's kicking out somebody on a trap. So you got to wait longer than you think and then kick out L1. He's the only guy who's kicking out that contain guy. Everyone else is turning people in. So there's your personal protector going. He goes after the reverse is obviously made. And then here comes your two guys building a wall. So you're building a wall down the hash. You can tell in the drawing it's not perfect. It really, sometimes this happens on the hash. Sometimes it happens, the top of the number, sometimes on the sideline. It just depends on how they do it. And then the reverse action here, etc. Okay, so let's try it one more time. I think the animation all goes at once here. Okay, so let me minimize that and show you some real game clips, and then also show you how to block things. If you get on YouTube and you type in reverse kickoff return, you're going to get us practicing it some, 10 years ago, 9 years ago. And on this right here, you'll see that it's kind of a jog through, and some of it might be hard to see in kind of blurry old video. And then it cuts to game footage, and I'll show you this one in comparison to other stuff from this year in a second. So let's go to this year's video, show you the return. I'll show you right off the bat, you'll notice that these two players right here cheat the system. They don't run down the line and turn at the hash, so their timing is going to be off. And you see how they're running into other players right here on the left. That's very poor, in my opinion. It's lazy, and they're not finding their blocks, and they're late. So let's watch the whole thing, and then I'll make a comment. The distance between the two returners is not where we want it to be, and he stepped out of bounds. So end zone angle shows it. And actually, let's go to the wide angle here again, if the internet wants to do this. Okay, so again, our runners should be running down the line and turning at the hash. They don't do that. They cheat. The guy's got to do the kick out on the contain. He leaves too early. Going back again, the two returners are a little too far apart. Should be 10 yards. They're about 15. So they have to run and adjust. And we actually had our guy is supposed to be getting this guy, should be around here. So we had a few missed block, but again, I feel like we were kind of sloppy with our execution in this past season. So here's another one from this past season. So you'll see the guys are supposed to run flat down a line are losing ground at an angle again, which is not what we want. Returners are too far apart. The fake is pretty good, and there's a wall set up, and the returner made some decent moves, but as you can see from the end zone camera, camera gets full a little bit, and there's a wall built, and we have a returner who's not one of our fastest guys. He's one of our better running backs, but he's not the fastest guy out there. To me, you got to put your burners back there, even if they're not your top guy. Just put a fast guy back there. Okay. So this last clip I want to show you is from 2009, and it starts kind of fast. Okay. So one of the questions I get is about the return getting kicked to the second level, so it's not all the way to the deepest guy. Well, this is what happens here. So the ball's been kicked. This player has the ball right now. So what I do is I spend time training every kid to do the reverse, and both the front line, the first line, the second line, talking about from back to front, they both know exactly what to do as far as the reverse. So he's got the ball, he's going in front, he'll go behind, and the simple key is the guys in the back rotate jobs. So normally he waits, kicks out. He's the personal protector. In this case, the deep guy is going to come forward and try and get the kick out here, and this guy's got to get on his horse to be the personal protector and find somebody to hit. And they actually do a pretty good job here. I don't know, the returner goes too wide, probably cost himself a touchdown, but you can see how the kickoff team's already kind of ran themselves away from the return. They're going with the fake, and there's a lane and a huge wall there. If the returner cuts up here, he's probably still running. Okay, so I'll rewind it to show you. So again, front line guy gets it, back guy switches, the other guy's a little bit late, still get a little bit of a return off of it. So when teams try and kick it short, you could still get them with the reverse and make it work. Same deal with a pooch, I feel like, and we'll show it again. So again, this guy's switching, he should be kicking out, he should be leading up. The reverse happens here. He's behind. We actually run this pretty well. It holds a lot of guys in white on that side. We've got a wall forming here. And again, if the back with the ball decides to turn up right there, pick up that block, he probably still scores. So still got a few things to work on in that regard, but that one's a pretty good one. Okay, so how do you make the blocks? Let's see if I go over some other things. 10 minutes a day practicing the return, like I said. The middle, ball in front. Let's see. Full speed, obviously, during the fakes. So I want to talk about how we block it. So I'm in Huddle, and I made a install group for a kickoff, even though they don't have special teams in Huddle. I just messed around with it. That's why there's this offensive formation here. Okay, so this is something new. People haven't seen this. I don't have it really drawn up. I just made this like a half hour ago. I want to be clear on what happens. So the kickoff team's taught to stay in their lanes, etc. So on this one here, there's basically three types of reactions that the kickoff team player has. One, in this case, he's running down the field. He gets completely fooled and just runs the wrong way, chasing the guy that doesn't have the ball. In that particular case, I'll go over these more in detail in a second. Our guy is going to get on his hip. That's what the squiggly line's for. And then when the guy takes off and runs the wrong way, our guy is just going to turn and run with the returner, going up the sideline, pick up an extra block if he can. The second kind of reaction is a guy gets fooled, so he pauses and he patters his feet and he's not quite sure where the ball is. And if you're running next to the kickoff team player as a kickoff return guy, as soon as you feel that guy, that player's indecisiveness is when you need to attack his hip or his shoulder or whatever and drive block him the direction you want him to go. Because in that instant when he's faked, his body's kind of standing there, you can get a good chance to get a good block on him. And that's a good, these two are pretty easy to do as far as, when you get a feel of the guy. The toughest block is when the kid's coached up pretty good and he's coming down and he's not faked. He's just either told to pick a guy and go get him or whatnot. Now, as the kickoff return player's going down at his hip, he's got to understand that this guy's going to fight across his face and get outside of him and get his butt to the sideline, and at a minimum just build a wall and not let him come through him. If you can drive him a little bit, that's a bonus, but just get your butt to the sideline. Again, you know where it's going as the offensive player. He doesn't, but he's fighting through you. So basically, using animation and huddle, they all go at the same time, as you could tell. So you want to run on the hip of the kickoff player. I call it a basketball block because you're kind of like setting a soft screen right on his hip. Okay. And then if you're looking at number 1 there on the left, as you get to the top of the block, about to where it needs to be made, and the guy runs away from you, just turn and run with your return guy, as you can see up here. Okay. For the second one, if you're looking at number 2 right here, same deal. Run on his hip. And then when he freezes, he's unsure of what he's got to do, then you make the block and probably get a good knockdown block, okay, if you can. And on the third one, the kickoff team player is not fooled. So as he comes running down, you're going to have a collision because he knows which direction it's going. So you got to hold your ground. So depending on where you are on the field, where the returner is, you might have to hold your ground a little bit longer. Some blocks are real quick and could be glancing. Others you got to hold on a little bit longer. So let me show you this return this is from 2002. So the tape is grainy, plus it's on YouTube. This is one of my favorites. The faking is pretty good. The blocks are made. The personal protector didn't really make a block, but gets into the play. So when you look at the end zone angle of this particular return, you see a lot of good things. First of all, the two returners took the 10 yards apart thing literally before the kick. They're standing real close to each other, ready like baseball players. The best kick for this return is obviously the deep high kick because it sets everything up. So you can see everyone running down. You see the front 2 guys running lateral to the line. They turn up the hash like they're told. And the faking is really what sells it. He's going full speed. It looks like he's got the ball past the hash. And a whole mess of guys over here don't need to be blocked. Okay. And I'll go back. Again, this is on YouTube, so it's a little bit tough to scroll. So you want to look for the specific blocks. All these guys, you see them turning their back and then turning over their shoulder to find the guy that they've got to block. Then they're trying to get on the hip and do the basketball block, finding their guy. And again, a lot of these guys are running in and take off the wrong way. And like this player should be turning back and coming with us, but you can see the wall we've built already for all these players. We basically, our kick-out guy misses his block, but our returner is good enough to just outrun him. Then he makes a move on the kicker, and we're in business. So one more time. Again, this is on YouTube. You can see it, rewind it, watch it hundreds of millions of times, etc. But the key to this is the 10 yards apart, coming forward a step. That's one key need to mention. I didn't mention on one part. If you're going to write anything down, this is a big key. On the deep high kick, the returners catch the ball, take a step forward, then do their action. That sets up the blocking. If the ball is kicked to the short guys, like I showed in that last piece of video, they don't take the steps. They just get the ball and go. Okay, that's important for the timing of the whole thing. Okay, so again, we got the PowerPoint. You can PM me on Coach Huey. You've got the YouTube link, reverse kickoff return. You can watch it. I'll post this talk on Coach Huey on my channel, To the House Calls, on YouTube. Made this playbook real easy, just like you normally do it in Huddle, and have some old clips, etc., to show you. So that is all for the To the House Calls reverse talk. Fire me an email at tothehousecalls@gmail.com for more information. You could also follow me at Twitter at tothehouse, and also follow my parody account at Coaching Gripes for all the gripes that I come up with, seems like every day. And you guys have a good evening, and we'll see you next time.